Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This evening I'm joined by Les Bailey of Pro Golf Now, and hopefully later in the show Elizabeth Bethel, also of Pro Golf Now, will join us. This week we've got a packed show where we'll be talking about where else would we start but the PGA Championship, quite definitely the major of the year and possibly the tournament of the year, and certainly one of the all-time finishes to a major, certainly in my time watching golf, which is over 20 years, and I don't know about you, Les, but it's certainly up there.
I've been going slightly longer than that, Matt. Sorry to say.
But it was a great event, and we'll get talking about that. We'll also be talking about the US Ryder Cup team, which is now mostly finalised. We just have to wait 2-3 weeks for the picks. And we'll also be looking back at the Meijer Classic on the LPGA Tour, another great finish there, and looking ahead to the fourth women's major of the year, the LPGA Championship at New York this week. So we'll start with the PGA Championship, the 96th playing of the championship, and incredible stuff. I mean, you can't really avoid talking about the winner, but we'll get on to him later. But Ricky Fowler's now had 4 majors where he's been in the top 5, all of them. 2 second-place finishes, a 5th and a 4th, I think, or a 3rd, and a 3rd. So he really has progressed this year incredibly. When all the talk's about Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, and Jordan Spieth didn't make the cut in the PGA Championship.
Yeah. So I mean, he with this change of coach to Butch Harmon, he really has gone on to a completely different level to what we've seen before, because we always knew he had potential, but he was very, very inconsistent. And now at the biggest events, he's really showing up, and this was the one he had a chance to win.
Yeah, he even said in an interview yesterday that of all the top, as close as he got all year, that one was the one that hurt the most. That he thought he could win the PGA Championship, but obviously he just didn't quite have enough gas at the end there.
No, I mean, it's difficult to criticize him in any way, because he really went for it, and he didn't really make that many mistakes. I mean, okay, the drive on 16 miles right, and then he hit a miraculous shot to find the green, and he made a par. It was a great performance, and you can't criticize him, but unfortunately he's come up against a player that is now, where do you go? For the first time this year, Rory McIlroy has actually listened to what I've said and won.
He's listened to what you said?
Yeah.
Have you been giving him lessons or what?
In terms of my pick.
Oh.
But what a performance. I mean, this one is his best major win. There's no doubt in my mind.
I think so, and it was really anticlimactic at the end, but it still was his best win. I mean, it was funny because I was sitting there watching, and he was in the 10th fairway. He was 280 yards from the flag, and a hole that he had double bogeyed on Thursday, hit one out of bounds.
Yeah.
And he had the look of, because at the time everybody was following. Stinson was banging on the lead. Ricky Fowler was banging on the lead. Phil had just made a birdie at 11, and it was a big roar went up, and Rory had the look on his face of, have they forgot that I'm here? Nobody's paying attention to me. And then he uncorks that 3-wood and put it 7 feet left of the flag, and it was like, wow.
I mean,
wasn't that a wow moment for you?
Oh, that was more than one. that is, I mean, along with the shot he hit at the Honda, that is the shot of the year, no doubt. To do it at that moment, he had to do it. If he didn't do it, then he was not going to win this thing.
Well, he was flat. He was flat on Saturday, and he was flat on Sunday up until he hit that shot. He had been, he made 2 bogeys on the front, I think, and then he made a couple of birdies to get himself back to where he was. But he was just flat until he hit that shot, and then that shot woke him up. Woke everybody else up too.
Well, I mean, just the moment at 17. I think the moment at 17 is the moment where you saw it won, and it was almost like a Tiger moment in many respects. He was in the bunker. He hit a great shot to 10 feet, hold the putt, and it was dead center all the way. And you've seen this is the biggest win of his career because obviously fourth major. He's reached it far quicker than Phil Mickelson did. He's fourth youngest ever to reach 4 majors.
Well, if you don't count young Tom Morris, he's third.
Well, I think you have to count young Tom Morris.
Was there a PGA back in those days?
No, there was only one chance every year, and he took it for 4 years running. So
yeah,
you know, but yeah, I mean, remarkable, and to do it when, to be honest, over that front 9, he was being left behind. There was a point where he was 3 shots behind. He could have been more if he hadn't have birdied the 7th.
Yes.
You know, so I think it is certainly the win that really does put him as the best player in the world, bar none.
Did you guys get the broadcast that included Nick Faldo over there?
Well, they showed him fall over or trip up.
Huh?
No, we don't get. We had our own guys out there.
Oh, well, when Rory hit that shot at 10, Nick says, "Well, where in the world is he going?" You know, and of course they had the blimp view of the shot, and you could see the ball going to the left, and he's like, "What has he done? Is he overcorrected for the flopping it to the right on Thursday?" And then he says, "Oh my goodness, what a shot!" Because it hit before the green, and just had the power because it was 280 yards now. That 280 yards, and he pounded it. I mean, it was just. I was talking about that shot to my wife when I went to bed that night. It was like, wow, what a shot.
He's hit, I think the stat was over 70 drives of 300 yards or more in the last 3 tournaments.
Yeah, and 16, he was playing with a driver 8-iron, I think.
Yeah.
2 days in a row, and everybody else was driver, rescue club, driver 4-iron, driver 5-iron.
Yeah.
And he was just out there so far that he was hitting it. I mean, that's a decided advantage. They need to make another league for him,
It is incredible the way he can control his distance. There are players like Dustin Johnson and Bubba Watson who hit the ball miles, but they cannot control it in the way that Rory does. It's dead straight or with a slight draw or a slight fade.
Well, he seems to hit a fade and a draw whenever he wants to,
Yeah.
And to sit there and on a tee where you've got to hit a big drive and cut it off of a bunker or put a little draw on it to draw it off of the bunker. He's just confident as anything when he stands up there and does that, and he does it every time.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and that's a foundation of his great game is the driving of the driver particularly, and his iron play is just something else.
Yeah. Well, he's hitting an 8-iron where everybody else is hitting 5-iron, so he's got definitely a little more control than they do. I found myself, I really didn't have a dog in the fight, but I would have been okay with Phil winning. I would have been okay with Ricky Fowler winning his first major, and I've been okay with Henrik Stenson winning his first major. But I know how much it meant to golf for Rory to win, and because let's face it, we need another superstar. Our old superstar is fading fast, and so now we need a new one, and we've got one.
Oh, we've more than got one. I mean, he now. I think I mentioned last week in the hangout with Elizabeth that this was almost the chance for a ceremonial passing of the baton from Tiger to Rory, and this week absolutely emphasised that with Tiger, as I thought, not playing when he should, playing when he shouldn't. It was quite obvious. The second round was a joke. He was injured in the first 2 or 3 holes, and he carried on. remarkably, I mean ridiculously as well, for his own health, to be out there on a very wet golf course, a very long golf course, missing the fairways, playing out of the rough. It's a joke, and he dismally missed the cut. You know, and then obviously Rory went on and won.
I had been asked 2 or 3 times, and I think I put it in a blog someplace, that what my opinion was of what Tiger needed to do, and what Tiger needs to do is hang his clubs up until his back heals.
Yeah.
And the second thing he needs to do is get on his knees and go back to Butch Harmon and say, hey, fix my swing.
Yeah.
I think that would be what he needs to do. And after I said that in a blog, I heard it on Morning Drive the other day. They were talking about, yeah, Butch Harmon would take him back. So evidently, Butch Harmon's already thought about that.
Oh, I'm sure Butch Harmon. You know, I mean, it was incredible because he was one of the main analysts for Sky for the whole week, and he obviously he was sat there commentating on potentially the 2 contenders in Ricky and Phil playing together, and he didn't have a favourite because whoever won, he was happy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, the guy.
Well, I can tell you with all honesty that when, what was it, last year, it was 2013 when they went to Abu Dhabi, and Phil and Rory were when Rory was announced as a new Nike guy.
Yeah.
I hyped that because I thought, here we go, we're going to have the dream matchup. And now it's going to have to be Tiger getting well for us to ever have that dream matchup of Rory and Tiger coming down the stretch with a chance to win a big tournament, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
Well, I think we may have another dream matchup in Ricky and Rory. I mean, I really do.
Well, Ricky really needs to win a few more regular tournaments.
Yeah.
He's only got one really good win, and that was the Wells Fargo, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2012, yeah.
That's his big win, and he needs to win a few more regular tournament events, I think, just to get. Maybe that's why he didn't win a major, because he doesn't have the knowledge of actually contending down at the end to really put one away, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And Rory, he had a few close calls in his younger days, 2 or 3 years ago. But when he started out, he had a few close calls and good performances in majors, and then he kept winning, and now obviously he gets into that position. And right. I think, honestly, the best thing that will ever happen to Rory McIlroy is losing that lead at Augusta.
Well, I was gonna ask you how big is that loss now? That meltdown he had at Augusta. Well,
it's huge.
It's huge because he doesn't have the career slam yet. But just imagine what April's going to be like when they go back to Augusta.
Well, it's got to be the most unique situation ever in golf, because the next 2 majors, we've got 2 players going for the career Grand Slam.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty damn exciting when you look at, obviously everybody's saying Tiger out and nobody's watching golf. I mean, that's the highest rating for a PGA in 5 years, and Tiger's been in most PGAs in the last 5 years. You know, so I would say that we've got a really exciting year ahead of us next year, obviously with the Open coming back here as well. I mean, can you imagine if Rory and Phil have won the first 2 majors next year? You get here, you know, the atmosphere is going to be electric.
Yeah.
You know, so I think Ricky does need to win a few more times, but I do genuinely think they're the same age. They started really at the Walker Cup at Royal County Down 7 years ago, and now they've gone on, and they had a bit of a rivalry at Quail Hollow when Ricky won his. They went to a playoff, didn't they? So, and now they've got the PGA, so they've got some history there now as contending when they're playing together. So.
Yeah, and that's what really builds the rivalries. I mean, that's what, you know, in the old days. The problem with Tiger's career is he didn't have any rivals that could rival him. You know,
no.
He just dominated. I mean, Phil was okay, but Phil was no match for Tiger when he was in his day. You know, you have to really go back to Jack and Lee and Gary and Arnie and those guys to really find some good, solid rivalries on the golf course every week. That the other thing that I was thinking about on Saturday was, here's Tom Watson, 64-year-old Tom Watson out there in the rain, warming up, and the only major he hasn't won is the PGA.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wouldn't that be great if Tom got into contention? And he said afterwards, you know, that with the rain and the moisture on the golf course, he said I couldn't hit it far enough anymore.
No.
But I think he lost in a playoff to John Mahaffey in 1978 that I think included Jerry Pate, and the PGA is still the only major he hasn't won. He doesn't have a career slam.
No, and he won the senior PGA at Valhalla.
At Valhalla, yeah.
So, but I just wanted to get your views, perhaps, on what I said on Sunday night about it being sort of comparable with 1975 in the Masters and that shootout with Miller, Weiskopf, and Nicklaus. I mean, it must be close because, okay, Fowler hasn't yet won a major, but you had the most popular American player, Phil Mickelson. You had the world number one, and you had the new star of American golf, if you like, Fowler. Stenson was obviously there as well, and he's the player of last year. So you had four of the most prominent players in the world head-to-head on the final nine of a major. It doesn't happen that often.
And just a question I want to throw out. Where was Adam Scott on Sunday?
Well,
I mean, is this the reason he lost his #1 ranking? Because he just can't seem to compete against the big fields like that? I mean, he spent the summer avoiding playing in the big tournaments with the big names. I mean, he was off. I'm trying to remember what tournament was opposite of the Colonial, which he won.
The Wentworth was opposite.
It was Wentworth, right? That's one Rory won.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, why wasn't he over there banging it with the big boys? I mean, he was over picking on Jason Duffner, who obviously isn't having a great year, and he beat Duffner in a playoff. But I mean, they had the field there was nothing like it was in Wentworth.
No, I wasn't.
So, and you have to lose points in the world rankings for not being in those good lineups like that.
Yeah, and well, I think he very much, at the end of last year, had a very, very big schedule. And the stress and the whole winning the Masters last year, going back to Australia as this icon for them, and then playing in 4 straight tournaments, including the World Cup, which were all 72 holes. He was there till the end of all of them.
Until he lost to Rory from a 4-stroke deficit.
Yeah, well,
on Sunday, you know.
Okay, Scott's been #1 since then, and he's won. But you look at that moment, that putt at Royal Sydney on the 18th hole, has completely changed the fortunes of both players, really.
Right, absolutely.
Rory has just gone on this incredible run of, I think it's 4 wins and 13 top 10s. And Scott hasn't been that consistent, really. And he, as you say, he's missed a lot of events.
Well, he's never been Adam Scott has never been able to putt. That's why he's got the broomstick putters, because he never could putt with a short putter.
Yeah.
And his big win was the last great tournament we saw, and that was him and Angel Cabrera duking it out at Augusta 2 years ago. And that was the biggest win of his life. That was one day he had to putter on the mark, and I think that was it, man. It's going to be interesting when he has to go back to a regular sized putter in a couple of years, you know.
It is, but it's strange because I saw him play, obviously on television. I didn't go to the Qatar Masters, but he shot 61 on the final round at Qatar. I think it's about 5 years ago, and he was with the short putter then, and he was threatening 59 on a very hard golf course, and he won. And and when he does win, I mean, he does win big, and he does win quite often. He's won every single year he's been out on tour, somewhere in the world. And so, but he's not. You look at Rory, he'll get in a run, and goodness knows how many more titles he could win this year. You look at Deutsche Bank, he's obviously won there. Tour Championship he's been close at, and I think he can win that. And then you've got 4 events at the end of the European Tour season, and then he goes back to Australia to defend that. So Rory's a player that will get in a run and win 4 or 5 tournaments at once, and Adam Scott will win 1 or 2 tournaments every few months.
Well, I don't have a problem that. I don't have a problem with Adam Scott's is one of the best ball strikers on tour. I mean, absolutely. Him and Justin Rose are icons when it comes to ball striking. But Adam, other than the Masters in 2012 or 2013 when he won the Masters, has never been able to putt under pressure whenever he needs to win. If he's got a 5-stroke lead in a tournament, yeah. And yeah, he made one on Jason Duffner there. But Duffner, like I said, Duffner wasn't playing really great at the Colonial. He just happened to play good enough to get in a playoff. But I think he struggles under pressure, like what happened at Royal Sydney. He had a 4-shot lead going out with Rory in the final round, and Rory just ate him up.
Yeah, I mean, he did, and yeah, I mean, I get your point, and I think that Adam Scott is a great golfer, and to be honest,
I do too. I think he's dynamite. But
he'll win another major. I've no doubt about that, and possibly 2 more, and then become more successful in the majors than Norman. But when you look at the two if you compare Norman and Scott, Greg Norman was there every single major for about 10 years. And Adam Scott has never. I mean, there's only 3 majors he's ever really contended in, but 2 of those were at Augusta. So, good evening, Elizabeth.
Hi, Matt. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. We're just discussing the PGA, and then we'll get on to the LPGA. So yeah, I think they're 2 very different players, really, aren't they? So, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens now in the future with the way Rory's playing. If he can continue this up for the next few weeks, few months, even.
Well, one of the questions I have is, can Jason Day get healthy and make a run with some of these people?
I mean, well, you just have to look at it was 1 shot, but the farce at the 2nd hole on Saturday, and he made a great recovery, but then on Sunday he just didn't do it. He just didn't get off to a good start. He didn't contend in any shape or form, and I don't know. I mean, look, okay, he was 2nd at the US Open in 2011, but he was 2nd by 8 shots.
Yeah.
Augusta, again, like Adam Scott. Augusta, he's gone there, he blitzes away with a driver, and he's come 2nd or 3rd there, but elsewhere, outside of that, he's not really done a whole lot in majors, and he never wins.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the WGC match play thing going, but that was, and he almost let Dubuisson get in there and beat him on that one.
Yeah. I think obviously that was a big win, but that is a unique week, and you look at the players that have won that over the years, and really you couldn't say who'd won it every year outside of Tiger and Jeff Ogilvy. So I think that Jason Day is a very, very good player, but I don't think he's anywhere near Adam Scott, Rory, Bubba Watson, Ricky Fowler, Phil Mickelson. He's a top 10 player, but no better than that, in my opinion.
Well, I just want to bring up, as we breeze into the Wyndham Championship this week, just wanted to make note that Slammin' Sammy Snead won his 82nd tournament at this venue, and that's still the record that Tiger's trying to catch. One of the records Tiger's trying to catch. But I read that this morning that was the last. The Greater Greensboro Open was the 82nd win for. need.
The way he's playing now and the way he's looking now, I mean, do we even think he'll win again? I mean, I have to say that because
I'm so
I
glad
actually
to
think
hear you say that, Matt. Finally, somebody besides me is saying it.
I do.
Good for you.
You look at last week, and he did not look capable of. Well, he didn't make the cut, but he was never close to making the cut. It's appalling to see. It's really disappointing, and the look on his face. I have to say, I really felt sorry for him. Coming up 18 on Friday, the look on his face said it all. He was.
Well, maybe that's what it took for him to hit bottom and decide, hey, he needs to make some changes. And one of the changes Tiger Woods needs to make is to lighten up and just start enjoying playing golf.
Yeah.
And you know, why does the best player on the planet decide to tinker with his golf swing? I still don't understand why he did that.
No, because if you look at Rory, he's the interesting thing they were discussing on the TV over the weekend was how he's stuck by his caddy, he's stuck by his coach through thick and thin, and look at the results.
Yeah, but Rory has a swing that's simple, but yet devastating. And let's just take the tables around. In 2000, Tiger was the best player on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did he decide to start to make a swing change? It was while he was winning all those tournaments and all those majors, and said, "Oh, I want to get better. Let me change my golf swing." Why? Is Rory going to go into next year and say, "Well, I'm the best player on the planet. Let me tinker with my golf swing and see if I can get better"?
There's no chance of that happening.
That's exactly what Tiger did. I mean.
Yeah. So anyway, it was an amazing Sunday, amazing week. We are left with no doubt now who the best player in the world is.
Well, for now.
I think you don't win the Open and the PGA, and with the Bridgestone in between.
I personally think that Henrik Stenson, after he gets some rest this year, because he just didn't get any rest after he won both of the cups last year, the Race to Dubai and the FedEx Cup, and let him get some off time and get rested and work on a few of his problems, and Henrik Stenson's going to be back in the mix next year, I'll bet you.
Oh, I agree. Next year is going to be dynamite. If we think next year is good, next year will be absolutely amazing. But anyway, over the weekend there was another tournament played on the over the other side of the Atlantic, and Elizabeth was possibly the only person watching it. But it was a dramatic tournament, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah.
It really was.
I mean, I've been watching Meijer Lee for a while. I mean, she's been playing wonderful golf, and she's just this little rookie who's been kind of cruising down the fairway and cruising up to the green, and she has a nice, powerful drive, and it's fairly accurate, and I kept thinking, that woman is just going to show up sometime. And to beat Imby, who is her idol, was an amazing thing to watch, even with you guys yelling at me on Facebook about I'm missing it. I couldn't figure out how to get a split screen going, and I got so flustered. I tried to get the PGA streaming on my computer so I could stay with the LPGA on my TV, and it pretty much short-circuited my IT skills. But I was really, really, really impressed with the way Meijer Lee played. I mean, of course Imby's going to play the way she played. That's the way she plays golf. She's just, as I keep calling her, and nobody's called me on this yet, but I've referred to Imby Park many, many times as the serene queen of golf, because she seems to play golf with no emotional ripples, unlike others. I mean, Stacy is endlessly petulant when she's not playing well, and Pedersen's endlessly angry when she's not playing well and when she is playing well. But Imby Park just cruises down the fairway in sort of, she seems to be an emotional idol. And to watch the two of them, Park and Lee play that round of golf, and especially those last 2 holes, was just a wonderful, beautiful thing to watch, even with all the excitement going on several states away in Valhalla.
Well, it's interesting because we've had, I mean, we keep going on about it, but the LPGA season has been remarkable. But the last couple of events, we've had some pretty big upsets. Usually it's the stars winning, but the last couple of events, the lesser players are now jumping up and stunning the favourite. And it's incredible how competitive the tour is.
Are you talking about Mo Martin? Are you going to put her in the mix on that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And obviously we've got the 4th major of the year, the last ever Wegmans LPGA Championship, before obviously next year it becomes the Women's PGA in conjunction with the PGA of America, which is something we'll talk about at length, I'm sure, over the next few months, because that's a pretty great initiative.
That's huge.
But this is almost an end of a chapter in history for the LPGA in New York, isn't it, Elizabeth?
It is, and in some respects, it's kind of a sad thing to see it end. And I wrote about this today because I've been thinking about it, and yet this has happened before inside the LPGA. I mean, when the US Women's Open was moved from the Women's Professional Golfing Association and then to the LPGA, and then after just 4 years, the LPGA saw that it didn't have the apparatus to turn the Women's Open into what it could be turned into. It needed a partner, and so it sought out a partnership with the USGA that's worked beautifully. And I think that model of developing both sponsorship partners and association partners is a really smart one for women's golf, because, I mean, let's admit it, it doesn't have the economic muscle, and it doesn't have the political muscle of men's golf. And so the way to get stronger is through those partnerships. I see this as a very positive move for the LPGA Championship, which is going to be the PGA Championship now.
I have a question. How well did, I'm sorry I didn't keep up with it, but I've been banging on the PGA for the last couple of months. How did the LPGA do in the way of following after they played they followed the U.S. Open at Pinehurst? I mean, that was obviously a big win for Michelle Wie, and it was a big tournament. Didn't they come away with some momentum out of that?
They did, but I guess, Les, I think it's a mistake to invest that momentum in a single person as they did with Wie. I mean, the LPGA began to pump out PR stuff focusing on Wie, and I mean, Wie's a fabulous player. There's no doubt about it. This doesn't take anything away from Michelle Wie, but I think that the LPGA kind of got ahead of itself and decided that maybe a star would lead the dog team, so to speak.
Well, I had said for many years that the LPGA needed a star to lead the dog team, and that star needed to be Michelle Wie, because she was like she kind of was she was the Tiger Woods of the LPGA that needed to make it and put some wins on the board, and she failed, at that.
But that's not what's happening in the LPGA. Yeah. It's I've started talking about the circle of champions, because that circle, there's not a single star in the LPGA. There's a circle of really astonishingly good golfers that's emerging this year, and coming out of the era of Ivy Park's domination, and before that even, for example, Sorenstam's domination of the tour. What's happening right now is that it's almost as though the tour has grown an entire generation or an entire cohort of really fine golfers, and they're just going to keep beating each other. I don't think a star is going to emerge from that.
Don't they need a? I mean, we suffered in the PGA when Tiger quit playing. Obviously, when he was injured, when he was sick, when he was going through his marital problems, and he wasn't playing, the ratings hurt. because they still hurt because Tiger don't play. The hope is Rory's going to carry the flag and bring the PGA and the European Tour back to dominance again. And the LPGA needs the same kind of thing.
No, I don't think so. I think the mistake is in believing that you do need a single star, because then when that star dims, that what you're talking about, what happens, the fans go away. Give the fans a group of really great athletes. Give them a group.
It ain't going to work. You got to have a couple of really big superstars.
I don't know about that. I don't think I'm going to agree with you.
It's great to have debate. That's all I'll say. I have to say I agree with both of you. In one regard, you do need a star, but it would be a foolish mistake if golf, in men's golf, just said, "That's it. Rory's the best in the world. We're just going to focus on him. We're going to pay him $3 million to turn up every week." Because look at why Sunday was so exciting. Sunday was not so exciting because Rory McIlroy won. Sunday was so exciting because Rory McIlroy won, and he was pushed all the way by Phil Mickelson, Ricky Fowler, and Henrik Stenson.
That's exactly my point.
Which 3 out of the 4 were have a big star power.
Exactly. So the more you can have, the better. Surely.
I agree with that. But you have to have 1 before you can have 2. And
you can have 3 or 4, and have 3 or 4 that circle around each other less.
Yes, but see the PGA and the European Tour have such a nice binding of players that when they get them together, it's just phenomenal. And the LPGA hasn't quite got there yet.
Give the LPGA time.
Look at this year, though. This year has been absolutely stunning.
It has. But can it sustain football season and starting a basketball season?
I mean, this is the problem. We live in a global world, obviously. That's a bad piece of grammar there. But
I write with bad grammar all the time.
American football, baseball, NBA, that's watched in America. It's not watched here. This is the thing. Golf is a worldwide sport, and we shouldn't be worrying about our TV ratings opposite these big events.
See, I think you're absolutely right. I was looking at my reader stats on my blog this morning, not on my Pro Golf Now posts, but on Staying in the Short Grass. And about 50% of my page views come from the United States. And that means 50% of my page views come from outside the United States. Half my readers are not living in the country where I live.
That's right. That's right, Elizabeth. But the readers, the 50% that you're getting is a small drop in the bucket compared to what it could get in the U.S. if you had better subject material. And I say that because...
Les, are you saying my blog isn't good subject material?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying... I wouldn't say that at all.
God!
What I'm trying to point out to you is that Pro Golf Now did 52,000 reads this month, and we come in second in the division this week with the PGA and everything else going on. The average NFL reads is about 300,000 a day. See, it's a bigger audience. There's more people interested in it. There's more people talking about it. And people aren't talking about the LPGA. Today they're talking about the PGA because of the PGA Championship, because of those 4 stars that played until it got dark and a storm coming in. And I mean, that was great TV, and it got a lot of people from fan cred and other people that I was talking to during the tournament on Facebook and Twitter, that they weren't going to watch the tournament because Tiger wasn't playing in it. Tiger missed a cut and was gone. I'm done with this. But during that playoff, all those people that said they weren't going to watch were involved in it and watching it because it was a great tournament.
Here we go. If, for example, Rory McIlroy on Sunday had run away with it. He'd shot 30 on the front nine. He was 7 clear going into the back nine. Those viewers would not have shown up.
They probably would have shown up and left.
Yes.
But
because you have 4 stars, you know, I do think it's a mistake to build your sport around one person. Football, British, European, rest of the world football.
You mean soccer?
Yeah.
Soccer.
We'll not get into that debate. It doesn't build its sport around one person or one team. It's a global game, and golf is a global game, and you have to sustain it by having a different star each week contending, and when they meet at the big events, they're all contending, and that's what's happening in the PGA.
That is absolutely correct, and we have not gotten that in the PGA very often this year.
No, we haven't. But on the LPGA, which is what we're talking about,
yeah,
that's happened every single week. And then you look at the majors; they're all there, they've all shown up, and it'll happen again this week. I guarantee you, it'll happen again this week.
I think you're absolutely right. And I'd like to throw just one more little observation into the pot. You know, America has this funny ethic of individualism. And we think everything revolves, I mean, we were raised to believe that the individual is the iconic I am, and we don't need anybody else. All of us, we just don't acknowledge or accept that human beings are herd creatures and live in groups and operate in groups and are really happier in groups. We're all individuals, and so this notion that we need stars, we need a star, we need a dominant star, is a uniquely American thing. Europeans and Asians don't have that hunger for the individual star. They want to see the competition. They want to see.
That's why they're great at the Ryder Cup and we're not. Absolutely.
That's exactly it.
But there's a but. There's a but there.
Well,
there's
except
a but
for football. What's the but? What's the
but? Look at the prize money that's paid on the PGA versus the European Tour. Where's the big paydays come from?
America, because there's more major companies in America.
Major companies, more sponsorship, more dollars, more people involved, more. Need I say more?
You know? No. We can. You're dipping into a whole nother realm, because in a lot of ways, I think that the creation of golf as a commodity, as an entertainment commodity, is a mistake. I really do. I think that's going to be the death of golf as we know it. It's when you start paying people the kind of money that these guys are being paid to do what they're doing, you're creating a different realm.
Uh-oh, here comes the political discussion.
Well, unfortunately, I have to cut you short. We're not getting into politics on my show. No, I have to cut you short because the venue I'm in is about to close. But we had an amazing conversation this week.
Order another pint, and they'll let you stay a little longer.
The conversation was great before you arrived, Elizabeth, but it exploded after you came into the show. So what a week! What a week for both men's and women's golf. The 4th major in the LPGA coming up this week, and the final event on the PGA Tour before the playoffs. Next week we'll be previewing the PGA Tour playoffs for the FedEx Cup and looking ahead, getting ever closer to the Ryder Cup. But from myself,
we didn't get to talk about the Ryder Cup today.
We didn't. We will delay that till next week.
If we're going to talk about the Ryder Cup, we're going to talk about Solheim.
Solheim's not till next year.
I don't care. I have to have equal time.
Anyway, we
Here
must.
comes the politics again.
We must go. So from myself, Elizabeth, and Les, it's good night.
Cheers.